Is it a deal then? I promise no harm shall come to anyone as a result.
I know what you're trying to do, Alastor. So let me make one thing perfectly clear. Just because I don't want anyone harmed
does not mean I am not capable of causing harm.
The eccentric, casual vibe of Hazbin Hotel is completely stripped away in this fan reimagining, giving us characters that are far more faithful to their origins, the so-called biblically accurate versions. In this Charlie Morningstar AU, familiar scenes from the show are twisted into something much darker and more unsettling. This is especially true for Charlie herself, whose new design finally does justice to her title as the Princess of Hell, the offspring of the first banished woman and the first fallen angel. Creator Alina manages to keep some of the series' trademark humor, but she mixes it with scenes designed to make your skin crawl. Let's dive in and see how this unique vision of Hazbin Hotel exposes the grim reality of life in hell. The first video featuring her was released this AU, recreating a scene from the original series, more specifically when Vaggie refuses to kill a small child during the extermination, causing her to be exiled to hell with her wings and one of her eyes being torn off. After this, she would be found by Charlie, who would kindly help her, thus beginning their relationship. But in this more unsettling universe, the Princess of Hell is less benevolent and far more imposing. She tells him that his god has forsaken her, but not to worry, everyone is welcome in hell. This is where we get our first glimpse of Charlie Morningstar's new design. She resembles a satyr, that human goat hybrid often used as a classic biblical representation of demons. Undoubtedly though, the most disturbing feature is her face. She wears a perpetual smile that becomes increasingly unnerving the longer you stare at it. However, this face proved to be nothing more than a mask concealing her true form, which is revealed in Alina's next video. There, we see what lies beneath, a visage that at first glance might not seem that terrifying, but certainly embodies a being born of hell. She has red eyes, no visible nose, and a deep fissure that seems to split her face in two, along with skin that looks scorched by the eternal flames. But this is where it gets truly unsettling. We also see the Charlie Disturbed version, who claims she will be Hell's great savior. She displays empty eye sockets and the macabre smile that makes you feel genuinely unsafe. Her horns have grown, leading up to her pure rage appearance. In this form, her neck stretches grotesquely, revealing glowing eyes and massive fangs separated by that crack in her face, which splits both her nose and mouth in two. On top of that, her ears and horns are even larger. Honestly though, this face is less disturbing than Charlie Disturbed, since the latter doesn't show too much. Our own imagination forces us to assume the worst. That might be the reason why, even up to the newest video in this AU, the full face of Charlie Pure Rage hasn't really been shown yet. Instead, the focus remains on the Charlie Disturbed style, which manages to create a sense of unease in every situation. Here, we get our first look at arguably the two most beloved characters in Hazbin Hotel. First up is Angel Dust, whose design this time around feels much more faithful to his spider nature from the original series. He sports more prominent fangs, and it's made clear that the 3 dots under his eyes are actually rows of extra eyes, in true classic spider fashion. But the most interesting one has to be the charismatic Alastor. He looks much more akin to the deer form we've glimpsed a few times, featuring elongated horns, neck, and limbs. What makes him truly unsettling though is his face. His permanent smile is even wider here, paired with glowing yet empty eyes that even display symbols or runes around him. He also bears the mark on his forehead where he was shot while alive, mistaken for a deer. All in all, it's a striking reinterpretation that still remains very faithful to his original design. In this clip, we see that even though this new Charlie keeps her cool behind her smiling mask, on the inside she's actually quite nervous to talk to her dad. Very in character for her. But the real highlight is Lucifer's design. He has a biblically accurate appearance, a being of immense beauty, worthy of being God's prodigal son and the Lightbringer. However, the consequences of his betrayal of heaven are evident. He wears an expression of deep sorrow with visible tear tracks on his face, telling telling Charlie directly that heaven never listens, but that is about to change. Here we see an emotional hug between Charlie and her father, rendered in a beautiful art style, as he consoles his daughter, assuring her they will show them all. Lucifer's gaze is filled with determination and hatred. In his biblical version, he was banished for trying to rebel and seize the celestial throne, a rebellion that obviously went wrong, turning him into the first fallen angel. In this AU version, we see that Lucifer doesn't plan to sit idly by. He's helping his daughter while simultaneously plotting revenge against his former family. This is our first look at Valvette's design in this new version. She looks quite similar to her show counterpart, though her limb joints are more visible, emphasizing that she is a sort of dismantleable doll. But the design that really grabs your attention is Vox. Like Alastor, he hasn't changed too much from the original, yet he manages to look far more disturbing. He features a realistic face, an unsettling smile, and above all, a piercing gaze that highlights his signature red eye. Fun fact, this design is very reminiscent of the TV version of Flowey, the final boss in 2 of Undertale's routes. Charlie's curious and kind nature shines through again in this video, as she asks her friend Angel Dust not to leave, but he can't, bound by his deal with Valentino. We see Val here with a more realistic design, looking more like a moth, but with a very unsettling face. We see him again in another one of Alina's videos. This one is more comedic than scary. We see Vox mistreating Valentino, who looks sad while keeping Angel Dust chained up. Despite the situation, Valentino looks quite elegant here. We see Vaggie again, apparently during her first visit to the Hazbin Hotel. She focuses her attention on a portrait of Charlie's mother, Lilith. Since Lilith is posing with a black snake, she could easily be confused with Eve, the first woman in common biblical canon, and the first sinner tempted by the devil to steal one of the forbidden fruits. Despite the confusion, it is indeed Lilith. Her faith suddenly shifts to something completely dark, highlighting her unsettling eyes, and the snake's eyes as well. This disturbing display makes Vaggie uncomfortable, though Charlie doesn't seem to notice anything strange about her mother's portrait. This scene appears to be a reference to Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Many fans in the comments have noted that this simple scene adds much more to Charlie and Vaggie's relationship than anything seen in the original series. We see Charlie worried about her appearance without her mask, while Vaggie comforts her, letting her know that she doesn't see a monster. It gives us a beautiful moment that fits perfectly with the story this AU has told so far. Here we see Lute, Adam's right hand, confronting the Seraphim Sarah for not taking action against the demons who killed Adam. Sarah gives a small glimpse of her immense authority as the mouthpiece of God, simply saying enough. This causes Lute to avert her gaze, overwhelmed by the presence. Sarah then reveals her true form. She resembles a golden owl with completely white eyes, a design that is both beautifully angelic and imposing. We see our beloved Alastor again, this time trying to convince Charlie to make a deal with him. Remember, in the original series, it's quite obvious how Alastor manipulates the innocent Charlie, but here, the scene takes a drastic turn. This Charlie is much more aware of her power as the Princess of Hell. She tells Alastor she knows exactly what he's trying to do, making it clear she is far from innocent. She states that while she doesn't want to hurt anyone, that doesn't mean she isn't capable of it. She stretches her neck and speaks with a terrifying voice, leaving Alastor himself visible nervous. It's a situation rarely seen in the original, where he is one of the most powerful beings, but in this AU, he seems to know his place is beneath the daughter of Lucifer himself. In this clip, it seems a human named David has just committed a murder as a sacrifice to the Princess of Hell, Charlie. She appears from the shadows to confront him, telling him he's done something bad, but not to worry because she will help him, though perhaps not in the way David expected. She's likely taking him to hell to redeem him at the Hazbin Hotel. Even though this Charlie doesn't look aggressive or angry, her mere presence commands immense respect. Here we see another reference, specifically to a scene from the recent Addams Family movies. It fits this new version of Charlie perfectly. Just like with Alastor, she isn't intimidated by the situation, unlike the Charlie in the show. Instead, Charlie takes control of the interview, reading Katie's mind and making her quite nervous. We see little Emily for the first time in this AU, in all her glory. Unlike in the original series, here, despite her appearance, it is made abundantly clear that Emily is a high-ranking angel. She reveals her full splendor while greeting Charlie for the first time, actually making Charlie herself nervous. As we've seen, intimidating Charlie is something very few can achieve in this AU. Nothing major happens here, but it's worth mentioning that Alastor shows us this version of Husk for the first time. In this iteration, he has a rather beautiful and masculine face, managing to win over angel dust in this universe as well. This is the latest video uploaded by Alina to date. It shows Carmela Carmine's appearance, which doesn't have any notable changes. However, the scene seems to take place during the last extermination before the start of the series. We see Carmela in combat stance, telling an exorcist angel that this path will not redeem her sins, and that she will inevitably end up just like her, in hell. It seems the exorcist she is arguing with has lost every trace of her own identity. She wears a completely black mask that barely reveals her empty, lifeless eyes, suggesting her work as an exorcist has consumed her completely. As we mentioned, that is the last video Alina has uploaded so far. However, the huge support and love the community has shown for her project, combined with her evident passion for the original series, suggests that Alina plans to continue with this realistic and unsettling version of the show, so it's only a matter of time before we see new scenes reinterpreted in a biblically accurate way.